Hello, is that Laura?
Yes, speaking.
I'd like to remind you that we're in for filming today and we're talking about phones and contracts.
Okay,
Oh,
sure.
You're here with me now.
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
Why are you like calling me? I'm just right next to you.
This is weird. Yesterday we talked about phones. Today we're talking about contracts. We're back with For You, Laura and Reese, telling you how to get the best phone and the best deal on a contract.
Oh.
More about that word later. Do you have a phone contract?
I think mine expired, so I can choose whichever I want to like join right now.
Yeah, there are usually two different ways that you can, have access to the internet or calls from your phone. You can either do pay-as-you-go or contracts, and we'll talk about those in the article today. So let's get into it.
Reading.
Phones and contracts. How to buy a new phone. I've decided to take the Phone E. I'd like to pay by cash, if that's possible.
Certainly. Do you also want to sign a contract with us? If so, you might not have to pay the full amount for the phone.
I could use a new plan, actually. So that makes sense.
Do you use the internet a lot, or do you make a lot of calls?
I do use the internet a lot. I sometimes run out of data on my current plan, which is annoying. I don't make many phone calls, though, except in emergencies.
Let's see. I think this one might suit you. It costs a reasonable 699 NT dollars a month and comes with unlimited data and calls.
Do you have any slightly cheaper plans that come with unlimited data?
We have one for a monthly cost of 599 NT dollars that comes with unlimited data and 120 minutes of calls. If you take this contract, you'll still need to pay 12,000 NT dollars for the phone.
That's acceptable. I'll take it.
So in the article, we see Ruby again, and she's still at the store, Simone's Phones.
Yeah?
And Ruby says, I've decided to take the Phone E.
Ooh.
I'd like to pay by cash, if that's possible.
Is that the expensive one? The more expensive
it was
one?
18,000, right?
Oh, okay. 所以终于 Ruby 她决定了，她说我想要买 Phone E。不过呢，她想要用现金付款，她问说，哎，这样 OK 吗？Okay, I'd like to pay by something. 像是你想要用什么方式付款？比如说 by cash 就是现金 ，credit card 当然就是信用卡付款咯。I always pay by credit card though.
It's a lot easier.
I can get reward points too.
Sometimes I use Line Pay as well.
Yeah, I love Line Pay.
Well, the salesperson chimes in now. They say, certainly. Do you also want to sign a contract with us? If so, you might not have to pay the full amount for the phone. Contracts can be good for this reason. What is a contract? Well, it's a little complicated to explain, so listen up. A contract is usually a piece of paper that is an official agreement between two people or two groups. We use a contract to legally bind people to particular services or jobs. So when you're older and you start a job, you'll usually sign a contract with your name. If you break the contract, bad things could happen to you. A contract is like a promise, but it's official, and you really can't break it. In terms of buying a smartphone, if you buy a contract, that means you're promising to pay some money each month to get the phone and the internet and call services. If you stop paying, you'll break the contract and you'll be in trouble. Here's an example sentence with contract. Once you have signed the contract, you can move into the apartment.
Nice. 所以 Ruby 想要用现金付款，店员说 Certainly 当然可以啊。Certainly 是用来表示同意或是许可，所以就是指当然没问题的意思啦。不过接着店员就说咯 Do you also want to sign a contract with us? 这个也是一个非常常见的问题哦。如果你想要买手机，可能店员会说，哎，你想要跟我们签约吗？ 因为如果签合约的话，就不需要付手机的全额。这里的 full 意思就是全部的、完整的。还记不记得这个手机要18000，有一点点贵哦。那 contract 这个字，相信刚刚 Reese 老师解释的非常的清楚了，就是合约、契约，它是一个名词，所以签合约或是签约，我们要用这个动词 sign a contract。举例来说 ，The actor signed a 5-year contract with his company. Or, here's another example. You should read the terms and conditions of a contract carefully before signing it. So important.
So the salesperson has just offered Ruby a contract.
Right.
And Ruby says, I could use a new plan, actually, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and then she can save some money. She
Yeah.
doesn't have to pay the full price. 这时候 Ruby 就想说，事实上我刚好也需要一个新的方案，所以应该签约，是蛮合理的啦。这里的 plan 指的是方案哦，而 make sense, that makes sense 就是有道理，还蛮合理的啦。
Well, the salesperson has more questions for Ruby. They say, do you use the internet a lot, or do you make a lot of calls? And Ruby says, I do use the internet a lot. I sometimes run out of data on my current plan, which is annoying. I don't make many phone calls, though, except in emergencies.
I'm like Ruby. I don't really make a lot of calls.
I think most people are
We
like
could just
this
use
nowadays, right? You can call for free online.
Exactly. OK. 这时候店员就想了解，他的平常的使用的习惯。他说你比较常用网络，还是你会打很多通电话吗？这时候 Ruby 就说，我其实比较常用网络，而且呢，他说 I sometimes run out of data on my current plan， 就是我用目前的方案，有时候会把这个数据流量真的很容易用完耗尽。他觉得这样真的很烦很讨厌。Run out of something 就是用完耗尽什么什么。接着 Ruby 又说，但是他是不常打电话的哦，除非是紧急状况。
So Ruby said that she sometimes runs out of data or data. Both of those are okay. So data is the internet content delivered to mobile devices, such as smartphones and tablets, over a wireless cellular connection. Basically, data is the internet that you get on your phone through 4G or 5G if you're fancy. Data has another meaning. Data is basically information, usually raw information in the form of numbers. We can process data into information that we can actually use. Though in the article, data is referring to that first meaning, 4G data. To have unlimited data on your smartphone means you can use the internet as much as you like and you'll never get cut off. Here's an example sentence with data. I want to change my phone's data plan. I always run out of internet halfway through the month.
那一般我们 data 通常是指 information 资料的意思，不过在本课指的是手机的数据流量。我举个例子来讲，大家就很有感。I usually watch movies and Netflix on my phone. It uses a lot of data.
For sure.
真的。
If you're a person who spends a lot of time on YouTube or Netflix, you need a 吃到饱, right?
对
data
unlimited
plan.
真的我需要这个。
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to run up a lot of costs.
I know 要花很多钱。
Another word to talk about is the word emergency. So Ruby said that she doesn't really call people unless it's an emergency. An emergency is a situation that requires immediate attention. That means we need to deal with it right now. Usually something dangerous has happened in an emergency, like a car crash or a fire in a building. An emergency is almost always bad and a serious situation. If there's an emergency, you might want to call the police or the fire service or an ambulance because we need to deal with it quickly. Here's an example sentence. In case of an emergency, all students should gather in the playground.
Oh my god, like an earthquake, maybe. Okay.
I think you have to hide under your desk for
Really,
those, right?
that's right. But I always think, do I have to run out in case the door comes down and gets stuck and I can't get out? Emergency 是什么呢？就是紧急状况。And I think you can call 911.
In America.
In America, but Taiwan 应该是119. It's like the opposite.
Yeah.
And also, emergency exits are some 就是很重要，紧急出口。Maybe when you're watching a movie, you look for those emergency exits when there's a fire or something.
Yeah, just in
dangerous.
case. Yeah,
Yes.
just in case. The article also used the word annoying.
Annoying.
So Ruby said it was annoying when her data ran out. If someone or something is annoying, then that thing or person annoys you. It makes you feel irritated, maybe a little bit angry and frustrated. Annoying things make us feel like we want that thing to go away and stop bothering us. Little brothers can be annoying, or constantly poking someone in the arm can be very annoying.
你是不是喜欢我啊？ Because little kids do that. They want to try to get your attention.
Yeah.
Wow, that really 那好像是我 vaccine 的地方，
sorry.
有点痛哎。OK, annoying 是什么呢？就是刚刚 Reese 一直在做的，就是讨人厌、很烦人、恼人的一些行为。You're so annoying. 这个也有类似像我们中文说你很机车，你很讨厌哎。
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I love my cat Ponyo, but sometimes
She can be annoying.
she can be annoying.
Is she needy or something?
She's needy, and if I'm sitting on my computer working or like watching a video, she will
jumps
just
on you?
she will just walk on my computer and just sit there. I'm like, go
Can
away.
you just like get rid of can you like kind of move her
I can
around?
like pick her up and put her on the ground,
And
but she just
she
comes
comes back?
straight back. Yeah,
She loves you.
she loves me. Well, back to the article. The salesperson says, "Let's see. I think this one might suit you." And they're talking about a contract plan. It costs a reasonable $699 NT dollars a month and comes with unlimited data and calls.
That sounds like your deal.
It's very similar to the deal I have.
刚刚有没有听到一个关键字 ？Let's see。我们常常在 conversation 会用到 Let's see，就是让我想想哦。然后这时候这个服务人员就说，这个方案可能蛮适合你的哦。为什么呢？他说 It costs a reasonable $699 NT dollars a month and comes with unlimited data and calls. 价钱是蛮合理的，因为一个月我真的觉得很合理耶，新台币699元，而且搭配的这个数据流量还有电话是吃到饱的方案耶，我真的也很想要买一下。Come with something， 这里的意思就是附有或是配有什么什么这样的意思啦。
So in the article, Ruby said that the price was very reasonable,
Yeah.
and I agree. It's a very reasonable plan. Here, the word reasonable is used to describe the price. Reasonable generally means appropriate or fair in amount or size. So a reasonable price is a price that you think is fair and good. A reasonable reaction to something is a reaction that's expected or fair given the context of the situation. A reasonable person is a person who is sensible and smart and doesn't do silly things. So reasonable prices are basically prices that are not too high. Here's an example sentence. 300 NT dollars for a bowl of noodles is not reasonable. It's way too expensive.
这是什么啊？是牛肉面吗
300块
好贵哦。
牛肉面300块也太贵了。
牛肉面也有，我觉得也蛮贵的。OK，reasonable 就是指在我们本课哦，是指价钱公道的，或是蛮合理的，它是一个形容词哦。比方像是如果可能有人到你家看到哇，你家的新的家具很美 ，How much did you spend on the furniture？ 那你可能说，全部加起来是低于2万块 ，less than 20,000 NT dollars。That sounds reasonable for the whole house.
For sure, yeah, for your whole house.
对啊，我觉得很便宜耶。
Very reasonable.
对啊。
Well, back to the article, and Ruby has a question for the salesperson. She says, "Do you have any slightly cheaper plans that come with unlimited data?"
Okay.
Wow, Ruby's really pushing this guy for like a cheap price, huh?
Good at bargaining.
Yeah. Ruby used the word slightly here. She said a slightly cheaper plan. Slightly means a little bit, just a smaller amount. So she realizes that $699 is already pretty cheap. can they make it a little bit or slightly cheaper?
OK， 所以他想要知道那个吃到饱的那个数据流量有没有比较便宜一点点的方案哦 ？Slightly 这里是指稍微这样子的一个副词哦。
Yeah, well, the salesperson may have something for Ruby. They say, we have one for a monthly cost of 599 NT dollars that comes with unlimited data and 120 minutes of calls. If you take this contract, you'll still need to pay 12,000 NT dollars for the phone. Ooh, getting complicated here.
对
So the previous one was more expensive, but you didn't have to pay for the phone.
很棒耶
This one's cheaper, but you have to pay some money for the phone.
I would go for the previous one.
I think so too.
对啊
Well, the salesperson used the word monthly here. Monthly, as you can probably guess, just means every month or once per month. So some things that happen monthly include a full moon, we see, usually every 28 days. Or maybe you might get your hair cut monthly. I usually go once every 4 weeks to get my
Okay.
hair cut. I go monthly. Here's an example sentence. We will have a monthly test in class to make sure students aren't falling behind.
Oh, I hate tests though.
Oh, yeah.
OK， 所以这时候呢，因为他觉得刚699，他可能想要再凹一颗比较更便宜的。他说，这时候这个店员就说，我还有另外一个月台币599。他其实那个数据流量也是吃到饱，但是他打电话只能免费120分钟。那这里我们先来看一下 monthly 这个形容词，就是每个月的、一个月的。OK。那如果这个合约 OK 的话呢，他其实还要再付台币12000来买这个手机。我是觉得第一个方案已经很好。那我们先来看一下 monthly 要怎么用。Monthly payment 很多东西都是每个月要付的账单啦，或者是 Our For You magazine, it's a monthly magazine. And I really don't like monthly meetings. They're usually very long.
Yeah, they are. And Netflix is something you pay for monthly,
Oh,
right?
right.
Yeah, some subscription things like this. 120 minutes of calls, I think that's enough, right? I don't call that much.
No.
Only maybe like if I call a business or
Yeah.
the bank or something.
Something like that.
Well, Ruby seems to like it. She says, that's acceptable. I'll take it.
Nice.
So Ruby used the word acceptable here to show that she is in agreement. Acceptable means able to be tolerated or allowed. If something is acceptable, you can accept it. It's okay for you. Unacceptable means you can't accept it. It's not okay for you and it needs to change. So, for example, if you give some bad homework to your teacher, they might say, your homework is not acceptable. I won't accept it. Go home and do it again. Wow, 那个老师很凶耶，很凶。
很严格。
Yeah.
对啊。
ooh. When we use acceptable in the positive, it means okay, but not the best.
我也觉得。
Usually. So, for example, if I said to Laura, hey, I found this movie, is it okay for you? And Laura says, it's acceptable. That means she's okay with
But
it,
it's not very good.
but it's not super good.
对。
Or if I said, how about Thai food for lunch?
It's acceptable.
Not super good, but she's fine
I'm
with
okay
it.
with it.
Here's an example sentence. Students must work in groups for this project. Groups of 4 students are acceptable, but 5 students is too many.
Oh, that's what I always say in college to my students.
Yeah?
Because they start chatting a lot if they're like there's a huge group.
Yeah.
They don't even discuss my questions. OK， 他说呢，那我还蛮可以接受这样子一个方案，所以他就决定要选择这个方案啦。Acceptable， 刚刚我们解释了很多，就是指可接受的，它是一个形容词，或者令你觉得说是 OK 啦，满意的啦。For example, the meals here are not super delicious, but acceptable. 不是特别的好吃，但是可以接受，反正只是要吃饱嘛。Or smoking is no longer considered socially acceptable by many people.
Including me.
真的，
Yeah. Smoking smells and is bad
真的
for
我
your
不喜
health.
欢
Where are the advantages? There are none. Well, that's the end of our 2-day article about phones and contracts. Now you know about the best phone features to look for and what a contract is. when you guys are a bit older, you'll probably be dealing with this pretty frequently. I know that contracts are something that come up in my life all the time. Well, let's go to our For You chat question now to really wrap things up.
For You chat.
So today's For You chat question, I'll pitch it to you, Laura, first.
Okay.
What are some good and bad points to using a contract for your phone?
I think the good is that I like the fact that some offer like the unlimited data, because I use up mine a lot when I actually watch Netflix.
Sure.
So I think by signing contracts, they have some pretty good deals with that. Yeah, 那个吃到饱的方案. And the bad points is that you have to sign usually at least 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? So you cannot say, okay, I don't want this anymore. You cannot change your deals.
Right, so it's like a commitment. And if you change your mind maybe 6 months later,
I know.
You're stuck because that's what a contract is. You have to see a contract through to the end.
Yes.
Or maybe you'll have to pay some kind of fine, right?
Probably, but I always try to stick it until the end, usually.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm pretty lucky. I usually sign pretty good contracts.
That's good.
For my phone, that is.
I've got some friends who signed contracts for gym memberships, for working out.
Right?
So for the gym, you might sign a 2-year contract. After 6 months, you kind of realize, oh, you don't like the gym anymore, and you want to stop, but you can't because you have a
lazy.
contract.
对啊.
Yeah.
Can you sell it to another person?
You can try and sell it, or you can pay like a divorce fee. You pay them like $5,000 to stop the contract. So make sure you guys are very, very careful before you sign a contract. Read every single word super carefully because a contract is usually something that you need to stick to for a very long time. Well, that's all we have for today. You can think about this question too. We'll see you next time. Farewell and take care.
Vocabulary Review.
Contract. The contract for my apartment will end next month. I'm thinking of moving to a bigger place. Data. Data. Tommy's new phone plan has unlimited data, so he can watch a lot of videos. Emergency. You should only call 119 in the event of an emergency. Reasonable. Da-an is a convenient place to live, but in Yonghe, the rent prices are more reasonable. Monthly. After Eric finished university, he worked for a company with a monthly starting pay of 30,000 NT dollars. Acceptable. My teacher says my project is not acceptable. I have 1 week to improve it.
智慧小补帖
Annoying. Slightly.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000、02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net